Mike O.
My name is Garrett J.
My name is John P. David K.
My name's Janine E.
My name's Chris F.
I'm David V.
Josh G.
My name's Andrew P.
My name is Harley L.
I've been clean for 6.5 months.
I've been sober about a month.
And I've been sober since September 8th, 2013. I've been clean since January 2nd, 2014.
I have 6 months clean on Thursday.
I've been clean for 9.5 months.
I have 9 months clean.
In a couple months, I'll have 4 years.
I've been sober since March 28th, 2014.
I've been sober for 2 months now.
Stories and interviews you're about to hear are going to be the journey of addicts of heroin. They're all at a different point in their recovery time. They're of different ages. There are young men and there are young ladies. This demon has no discrimination as to who it takes.
I started using heroin at the age of 14.
I knew how bad it was. I never knew how it would affect my life.
Well, I was selling heroin to support my habit, so probably between $500 and $1,000 a day.
Well, I don't think it's, I think that addiction doesn't discriminate, I don't think it's gender specific. I think it is more taboo for women to be in treatment. You often see more males.
At the time, I was using a little over $100 a day, but in combination with that, I was using benzos as well, just to kind of achieve the high that I was getting before when my habit was smaller.
I started smoking weed when I was 12 and drinking, and that progressed. I started drinking pretty heavily by 8th, 9th grade, and I started doing heroin when I was 20.
I started at a very young age. The first time I picked up any kind of substance was marijuana, and that was at 10 years old.
Being an addict leaves you only with a few choices. Choices are continuing to be an addict, which could ultimately lead you to death. You could also end up in jail and recovery and have the life that you deserve.
Yeah, I've been arrested like 20-some times since I started using. Consequences get worse and worse. You're spending more time away from everyone that loves you, and it sucks, man. I never got in any trouble before I started using. Since I started using, it seems like that's all it is one thing after another.
So when I went to treatment in 2011, I went there and they actually helped me to understand what I'm here for, what my problem is, and they really helped me, because when I went in I was 112 pounds.
I was actually really lucky, and I never had any run-ins with the law. It's not to say that I didn't have run-ins with them, but I was lucky in the sense that I didn't have any legal ramifications. I had a scenario where I was leaving a pill mill and I was high, and I ended up nodding out at the wheel, and I crashed my car into 2 other cars that were parked. Somehow I escaped without getting a DUI. But other than that, I was really lucky in that I didn't have any legal troubles after.
Drugs rob your life of everything. I don't know, I really couldn't picture my life without drugs, because that's all I knew. I feel like I grew up under the influence, and I have a really beautiful life today. So it's possible, and you can still have fun and stay sober.
Me, the reason I came into recovery at first, it was just all court ordered, and obviously when something's just pressed on you, at least for being an addict, like he said, it never goes good. I'd do it, I'd go through the motions, I'd get out, and I'd be back on the street running.
Me personally, there was only a couple more options for me. I've been using heroin since I've been 16 years old. I was 23. Suicide was my next option. I contemplated killing myself for a long time. You know what? It just worked out a way. One of my family members went into treatment, and I just gave up, and I just decided to, make the call and just try to get into treatment. And thank God I did. My life's changed for the better, but it was dark towards the end. Suicide was where it was going, and if it wasn't suicide, it could have got worse, but it was pretty bad towards the end.
For me, it's basically the same thing. It got real dark towards the end, and then I seen him going to rehab, and I just followed him. I followed his example, and then got sober that way.
Well, originally what made me go in was consequences and family and my kids, but it wasn't until I decided I needed a better way to live, because I wasn't able to die. I tried to die several times from this disease.
I think the most important part of my recovery is I keep a really strong fellowship of guys who have the same goals that I do. I have a really strong faith and a conscious contact with God in my life.
I started selling drugs at 14. I started really getting involved with some bad people, and it really progressed. So just from like 18 to 20, from 14 to 21 was like my main years of using. That was like my main run, we'll say.
I have a really good sponsor, and I call her every day or multiple times a day if I have to. That's been really important for me because I've been in and out of recovery for a long time. Since I was 16, I'm 25 now.
I started, reaching out, to other people instead of taking everything, inwards, trying, not to be as selfish. And the main part is you got to get into a routine. Me personally, I go to the gym. It helps me stay sober, but I got to hit my meetings. I work on Alcoholics Anonymous. I got to sponsor guys. I got to help a fellow alcoholic or a drug addict. They're the main things that are going to keep me sober on a day-to-day basis.
These young men and women come from different homes, different family situations, all over the United States. This drug affects everybody. Families, it affects anybody and everybody. Everybody's story is unique in its own way, but all very similar. They all have different sobriety time. Each of their struggle is real.
My parents cried. My dad's a cop. Telling him that his daughter was a heroin addict was devastating for me.
Making an addict do anything never really ends up that well. I made a decision on my own to ask for help and dive into this completely with, we call it the gift of desperation.
I actually gave it a shot this time and honestly did it and wanted to do it for myself, just to better myself and do something with my life and be the person that everyone tells me I could be and where I could go with my life, and finally just trying to move forward and taking it day by day to get where I need to be.
I'm Debbie, and this is my son, Justin. He lost his battle with addiction of heroin in 2014. I just want to say to anybody that's thinking of ever using this drug, run away from it. Anyone who is in recovery, keep your focus. Stay strong. Don't ever let your mom, sisters, brothers, grandma, aunts, uncles, anyone feel this type of pain.
My brother wasn't too happy living with my grandma. She was mainly disappointed more than angry because she expected more out of me. It was just more of the disappointment that really, disappointing her that upset me rather than, her being mad.
Look, when you're using, it killed me because I feel like I was partially responsible for introducing him to heroin. He saw it. When I was younger, I got hooked on it, and he was a little bit younger. He was a little bit younger than me, and he wasn't on drugs yet. But I set a horrible example for my family. I put him through a lot of pain.
My name is Erica, and Justin is my younger brother. He lost his battle with addiction as his older sister. I wish I could have protected him more. We all supported him in getting clean, wanting him to find the best that he could for himself, wanting him to do this for him. As a sister of a brother with addiction, I hope that you can ask for help, reach out to your siblings.
You know, the ramifications on their parents and their family, the ones who love them but aren't in active addiction, because they have to sit by and watch you use, and it's a really painful scenario for them.
You know, I'd say, you know, just not to get curious. Don't try it for that first time, because a lot of people aren't educated to, you know, opiates and heroin, and you know.
You need to know that your family loves you. Your family cares, no matter how bad things look for you. You need to understand a mother's love goes so deep, it's so unconditional.
You're not alone in your fight. Sometimes it might feel like it, but you're not. There's people that are there for you, that will support you and stand by you during difficult times, the bad times, the good times. People will be there.
And you're worth it. No matter how bad you feel, you're worth it.